Hey, but aren't you glad I caught it?
Yeah, really.
Aren't you?
Very. If that had been what had happened, if I went to go do that and you had no audio file, I think I would have just smashed my laptop and been like, never again.
Never again.
No more podcasts ever again. I won't even watch one. Welcome back to the Casting Cost CEDH podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Chase, and today we're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, commanders, and cards that we're really interested in.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in that order. I think we're going to talk about the cards we're interested in first.
I got one that I'm really interested
You're really interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we get into this, I think that we need to remind the people of a few things. What do we need to remind them of, Blake?
Oh, are you talking about the housekeeping stuff?
Yeah, let's do that. Always
the housekeeping stuff. Yeah. Free things first. Just like and subscribe because it's free. Please. It helps support the channel. And we want to make good videos. And when you don't like and subscribe, then we have shitty audio and everything explodes. And then me and Chase sit in a corner and cry.
For every person that watches our video and doesn't subscribe, the content will get shittier and shittier.
The audio will be worse.
The audio will fuck up at all times.
Right.
I'll make the thumbnails worse.
And
I will make sure that I have a very difficult time lip syncing things because the audio is off.
The other free thing is just joining the Discord so that you can talk shit to us in the Discord instead of just in the comment section. And then,
if you really want to talk shit to us, join our Patreon as well. And you have more direct access to talking shit to us.
Yeah, the Patreon obviously helps make sure that we don't have dog shit audio. Yeah, and also, I don't know if you can tell that we're holding these microphones. Yeah, we're going to get some little boom arm things so that it's just like right here in our face. So that way I don't have to like inhale the microphone.
Oh, you got to inhale that shit.
I'm going to still inhale it, but it'll just be here. I'll be hands-free, you know. I can get more like intimate with the microphone.
I don't know if I like the way you phrase that. So
well, it's staying in.
But yeah, no, like and subscribe, join our Discord, join our Patreon if you want to contribute to the channel and help us out. So that way, in a serious note, we can continue to kind of feed back into the channel and continue making improvements. I know we make a lot of jokes about it. We have had a lot of issues, but I think that's why we take the opportunity now and actually address it here as opposed to like comments at times and things like that, because we just got to keep it real, right? And I know on last Wednesday, we had talked about in that video, for those of you that haven't watched that, don't worry about that one. But we have also made a Kentucky cEDH Discord. So if you are in Kentucky or any of the surrounding states, the link will be down below for that Discord as well if you are looking to join that. And that is just a way of trying to connect players across the state and more shops and trying to draw more interest into our home state, so that way we can actually get better events and more organized events between all the shops here. So I think that's oh no, it's not all. There's another thing.
We have an affiliate link in our description because we are affiliated now with Manavault Proxies. So if you want to get some proxies, then just click the affiliate link or use our coupon code. It's CCC at checkout, CCC, and that gets you 5% off, and it helps support the channel. And it also helps support people that are actually like in the community playing cEDH. Notorious is the one that runs that. And yeah, so if you want to help support somebody that's a really good player in the space and then you want to help support us, just use the affiliate link.
Yeah. And if you haven't checked it out yet, if you haven't actually like gone on the website and checked those things out, like I know I placed an order the other day for like 3 decks. There's bundles you can get on there for some percentages off when you complete your order. Every big event that happens, like I know with the Fishbowl recently, like Notorious goes on there and puts like the top 4 decks on there where you can just purchase them individually or as a bundle. You know, and I think that he's kind of had sections on there for multiple events, almost like this Hall of Champions kind of thing. So even if you want to like test a deck out that someone got first place with. Like, I know Ian recently placed first at an event. Sylvie, I think Zach Adler's list is somewhere on there. Like, if you want your own copy of that, just go check out Mana Vault Proxies. And again, it's code CCC.
What C said?
You B.
Technically, I'm also a C.
True.
This is true.
Mr. Chadwick. Anyway,
cool wigged.
Do we have anything else? I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else before we get into this? I think that's pretty much it.
No, I think that's basically everything. I'm just excited to talk about this octopus.
See, and that's interesting that you say that, because today we are talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe that pre-release was this past weekend, and now the official set launches this Friday, right? Which is, I think, November 21st. I don't remember off the top of my head. We're getting closer to Thanksgiving. I'm excited for that. But yeah, the official set launches this Friday, and I think people are pretty hyped about this set for the most part. Like, this actually... I think it's kind of turned out to be one of the better sets that released this year. I don't know if it necessarily beats Final Fantasy, but as far as like something like this was the surprise set that caught people off guard, even though I think at the beginning of the year you were the one that said that they could potentially be doing this anyway, and so you called that shit. And then our predictions are always pretty good on the channel.
I'm just saying. Okay, look, I know this derail shit, but that's just what this channel does. Our predictions are really fucking good.
Our predictions are pretty good.
We literally, I had played the, I think it's called like Marvel Champions, Marvel Heroes, something like that. It's a card game, and me and Chase made the prediction that on like the Spider-Man stuff, they would have the alter ego stuff. It would be like the human or like the other identity, and then the other side.
Yeah,
we said that shit on the podcast before we even knew a damn thing about it, and we
also said that they would probably do like partners in Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Technically speaking, we weren't wrong.
Yeah.
Because they just reprinted partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Just saying.
Just saying. Sometimes we know our shit.
Now, we were really wrong on Edge of Eternities. I was very wrong.
I think I said vehicles, and
you said vehicles. I made a comment about enchantments, and you literally were like, Tezzeret is the face card. And I was like, artifacts. I meant artifacts. Yeah.
But for in Universe's set, I did think Edge of Eternities was really, really cool. I thought that it was still a strong set. But we're seeing all this Universes Beyond stuff now, and even next year we have a shit ton of Universes Beyond. So, we are talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender today, and my voice is kind of fucking up at the moment, so forgive me.
It's because you didn't like and subscribe.
Because yeah, it's the audio going out anyway. Blake will either cut that shit or he won't. And here recently, I don't think he's going to cut that shit.
Fuck no.
Authenticity. But we're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. And typically when we do these set reviews, we kind of go through each color combination or like the monocolor stuff, what we think are the best cards in the format. We have done a top 5 ranking for the commanders. We're going to kind of combine a little bit of that today in just one video because, first and foremost, Blake just fucking hates doing set reviews. That's the biggest reason why we're doing this. He's just like, I hate doing these things. If I didn't have to do them, if you didn't make me do them, Chase, I wouldn't do these things. Sorry, buddy, we're doing it because I think a lot of people are excited about the set. And me personally, like, I never really watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I think there are some good things coming out of the set itself for our format.
I think that my thing about like set reviews and stuff like that, everybody and their mother does a set review. I think that doing the rankings and stuff makes it more unique to us because then they get our personal take. Because the last time that we gave our personal take on a bunch of commanders, we met Bissy.
That's fair. We didn't. Bless you, Bissy. I love Bissy.
Yeah, I shit all over Kefka, and he was like, let me get in this Discord and whip somebody's ass.
Yeah, and then proceeded to whip our ass.
That's not true. I played him in a game, and he countered my fucking turn 1 Necropotence.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. I did win that game, though.
There you go.
To be fair. He gave me 2 treasures, and I cast a Zur. And then we had 3 Ristic Studies on board, and he said, what the fuck happened? I should let you have the necro.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's get into some of these cards though, as far as like just a few standout cards that kind of everyone has been talking about since they've either been spoiled or they're not necessarily commanders that are going to be on our list today, but things that we think are going to be pretty impactful to the format. So I'm just going to go into this first one right away because it was one of the early ones that got spoiled for the set and I think has drawn like the most hype, and that is the Cabbage Merchant. So for 2 colorless and a green, you have a legendary creature, Human Citizen. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, create a food. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, sacrifice a food token. Tap 2 untapped foods you control. Add 1 mana of any color, and it is a 2/2.
Yeah, this card's really good.
This card's really good. I think that this is something that green like really needed. Me personally, because green is kind of the weaker color at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing about green. It like the dorks are very nice. Trust me, the dorks are very good. And then you obviously have access to like Enduring Vitality and stuff like that. But they're just, it's a turn slower than red. Basically, like they just get access to all the good rituals that can just like explode out of nowhere. Plus, Breach is just busted. But this card's like, I mean, it's really good. Like somebody starts to go for a Storm off turn, and you're just casually sitting there making a shit ton of mana. And as they're trying to fight through potential interaction that you may have, you're making more mana as well. Like it's a very good card.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong card. I think that you having to tap 2 foods actually like really helps balance the card out in particular. Like if it was just 1 food, you tapped 1 food and you can nuts. I think I don't know, I wouldn't say that everyone would shift over to green, but like it would put a lot of green pilots in the driver's seat in those games in particular. Because I think that the decks right now that are more green centric, like, you know, I'll throw Sisay in there, TNT, Rog Thras, Kennen, you know, things like that.
Yeah, this shit's busted in Kennen.
Yes and no. I'll kind of explain that one.
Well, I get it because it's his ability that's causing the foods to tap, correct?
Right. So
it doesn't double the mana.
It doesn't double, plus but it's a human, so you can't flip it.
True, but still, like just being able to generate extra mana for your opponents taking game actions.
Right.
That's very good.
Yeah. No.
Now, obviously,
I think there will be Kennen pilots that still try to run this. Yeah. It just depends on what the build of Kennen is. But I mean, this I think automatically goes in Sisay. I think it automatically goes in the TNT builds. You know, I don't know if Atali might want it. You know, if opponents are like drawing a bunch of cards and there's a bunch of Ristics and it's kind of a high resource game at times, like Atali just might want the extra mana to just be like, oh, fuck it, I'm going to keep trying to jam Dino things as much as I can because I have all this extra mana that I can accrue on my turn. But like, I think Atali is the only example of a green deck right now that like is going so fast in the meta that it almost doesn't matter. But I think the other green decks that we are seeing that are like more of those true mid-range, I think that the Cabbage Merchant is a card that really helps push those decks right now. And it's not necessarily anything you have to build around in particular. It just, you slot it into the 9/9, and you know, if you're in that kind of pod where you need the extra mana or you're anticipating a bunch of people casting a bunch of non-creature spells, then it really works in your advantage. And I think it's just a really strong card. So it's one that I look really forward to testing out myself.
I agree.
Yeah. Are there any other cards that you have seen that you want to talk about in particular? Because I have some more, but I'm just asking you real quick.
Well, I told you about you didn't know that was even a card, but the little purple Pentapus.
Yeah. So what is purple Pentapus?
Here, let me pull it up for you just so I can read the exact wording of the card. But it is a 1 black pip creature, octopus, starfish, and it says when this creature enters Surveil 1, 2 and a black, tap an untapped creature you control, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This card is like hilarious because it pretty much only goes in like one deck, and it's just the Gwenum. but I think this card's just hilarious and the name's funny. So
Fair enough.
I'm gonna play it in Gwenum, but I also think that maybe it could be seen in some other stuff. Like it's not bad, just surveilling, being able to like throw lands off the top so that you can keep going, especially with stuff like Bolus. But yeah, I just think that the card's funny, and it's not gonna be like seen in a ton of different strategies.
Right.
But Gwenum did do really well in a recent tournament. Shout out Austin, and it was a big event. So I think that this card's gonna see play.
I think it will in that deck in particular. Outside of that, I don't really know. I'm gonna go on to another card now. Redirect Lightning. So for 1 red, it's an instant lesson. So that we got kind of this new card type, kind of like how traps were in Zendikar. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay 5 life or pay 2 generic. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target.
Yep.
We already see these effects like in our format, and they're very strong between like deflecting SWAT, misdirection, and things like that. I think that a lot of the times just the casting it for 3 or just paying the 5 life, like it may not feel great in something like Rogside trying to pay that 5 life if you're trying to like truly like either necro or adnause or things like that. You want to convert your life total into more cards, and then if you hit this, like it's not going to hurt you too bad as far as like you're adnausing and you take 1 from it. But then if you're in a situation where you're at 4 life and then you can't pay the 5 life into it, then well, you're a little shit out of luck on using it. That I think that's kind of the only drawback. But again, I think that this is a card that, excuse me, other decks like some of these mid-rangey like red decks, again, like something maybe like a Sisay or a Rogthras or something like that doesn't necessarily care about its life total and can utilize it a little bit more efficiently. I think that's probably where it's going to see the most play.
I agree with that. I think that this definitely feels more like a mid-rangey card. I think that stuff like Rogsai will still play it just because it's a good card.
Yeah, no. I think they still will. I think it's just like kind of situational.
Yeah. But I still think it's fantastic. I think the card's really good. The ability to change, like that, giving you the opportunity to change the target of a spell or ability is fantastic. Like Misdirection sees play and it only changes spells. Like it can't hit the ability side of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This can hit both. Now, obviously, it's not free, but it is very good. Yeah. I've seen lists that already, like, if you go on, there's a ton of lists that already have this in their sideboard ready to throw into their main deck for whenever it's technically, like, legal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this card's cracked.
Very nice. So, I'm just going to list a couple more here before we actually get into the Commander rankings and whatnot. So, the next one is actually another green card that I'm looking at is the Badgermole Cub. So for a colorless and a green, you have a 2/2 Badgermole. When this creature enters Earthbend 1. And so that's part of like the new mechanics in the set is all the bending abilities. So for Earthbending in particular, target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. This card's real good.
Yeah, I think that this sees play in time for sure.
Sees play in time. What else are we going to say? Kennen, like...
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, with this out and Kennen, like all your stuff taps for, I guess it'd be 3.
3.
Yeah, so, I mean... Again, green is starting to see like a lot of love in this set and has some really strong like cards like this. And it being a 2/2 4/2 with this ability, with things running in the format like how Enduring Vitality is, depending on the deck, if you're doing like Relic of Legends type stuff, or if you do happen to be on like Cryptolith Rite or anything like that, it just, I think it's a really good card. I don't have much to say about it other than that, but I do think it'll see home in a lot of different decks, potentially.
We need a really busted Badger commander.
Yes.
That is all I gotta say.
So and then the last one that I'm going to kind of mention here, because I think we'll kind of talk about it quite a bit today, or at least I will. Wan Shi Tong, Librarian.
This card's fucking nuts.
This card is stupid. So for X and 2 blue, you have a 1/1 bird spirit that is legendary with flash, flying, and vigilance. And whenever it enters, put X +1/+1 counters on him, then draw half X cards rounded down. Whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card.
It's funny because like I was actually talking about this card the other day. I posted it in a group chat that I have with like a bunch of my friends, and like you've played with them, but they normally play like Casual Commander, but they've played some cEDH, and I posted this card in there, and I was like, this card is fucking bananas, and immediately they commented back, and they were like, this isn't cEDH, and I was like,
oh,
you're crazy. This is nuts. Like, this card is so good. It's an outlet for decks like Kennen, where you just need the infinite, like you need an outlet for the colorless mana.
Yeah.
If you can just make the blue, and then you have Basalt and you make the infinite, you can literally draw through your deck, or draw as much of your deck as you want, basically. And you'll have a giant ass beater on board. Not to mention, like, the card on its own, like if it was just there for value, even if all you're doing is casting it for blue, people run Archivist of Ogma. I run Archivist of Ogma. So this is just a more versatile Archivist. Now, it's a little bit harder to cast for sure, but it's just a more versatile Archivist. There's, again, not to constantly bring up Xur, but Xur decks that are playing like the Power Artifact, Grim, and Basalt Monolith builds also with Xur, that's an outlet for them. Like, they've been in the Discord being like, this is fucking nuts. This is another outlet. You know, we've been running all these other cards. Like, why not just run this? It's just Archivist. But, you know, I think this card's fantastic. And I'm probably going to slot it in just to have in the deck.
Yeah, no, I think that this is a very strong card. I think that I was already going to bring up the Archivist stuff anyway. I think even though, yes, it's 2 blue as opposed to a colorless and a white to cast it, I think that there's a lot of upside to this, like depending on build. Again, if you're in like green stuff, and you can actually cast this off of like a delighted halfling where you can make it uncounterable, being able to have it in Kennen and like flip into it in response to like someone like doing a bunch of tutoring stuff. You know, you're making the comments about your friend group there and being like, oh, like this isn't cEDH. I think that a lot of like the face value of the card, like if you aren't in our format, I think you kind of gravitate towards the first like couple sentences of text where it's just like when it enters, you put the counters on and then you draw cards rounded down. The more important part of it, really, if you're not utilizing it as the outlet, is that bottom part. Yeah. Where if even early game, where if you have this in your opening hand and you can make the blue like on turn 1 and you don't really have any other kind of play, like as soon as someone goes to like crack a fetch or anything like that, you just flash this in and you automatically get to draw a card. I think it's kind of a mistake that they gave blue this. Like they just continue to give blue more and more tools. And so with how prominent that color in particular is in our format, I think that almost any deck trying to run blue is going to run this.
I think we're getting this because Ristic's going to get banned.
Yeah. Oh, and then Dockside is coming back.
Yeah, let's talk about Dockside in the set.
Because it is in the set.
Dockside is in the set.
Yeah, as a reprint, or is it a special guest, I think?
I have no clue. I just know it's a dude with a parrot on his shoulder and it says Dockside Extortionist.
All I know is it's a big fuck you to the cEDH community. So that's my take on that.
Be ready, everybody. Ristic Study banned in 2026. Dockside Extortionist comes back in 2026.
Hell yeah, brother.
I'm going to kill myself. No,
I don't know if we can say that.
I don't give a fuck.
I think you have to censor that.
Authenticity.
Yeah, last card that I think is just an all-star staple is the Walls of Bossing Say.
This card is busted. It's the greatest thing ever. Pride of Hulklade 2026.
I'm not even going to go through and explain what this card is. But before we actually get into our top 5 picks for the Commander, I think that there may have been a few things that we did miss. We just wanted to kind of mention those cards briefly. So if there are any cards that you are looking forward to out of this set, in particular for cEDH, that we did not mention just then, drop it down in the comments below and let us know.
Or just join the Discord and tell us like Bissy did.
And tell us like Bissy did. So,
matter of fact, post your list.
Yeah.
He did that too.
I love that anytime, it's not even just Bissy that comments on our stuff. Anytime Bissy gets acknowledged on the channel, now other people are like, Bissy!
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
It is beautiful.
I love it. So, all right, you ready to get into our top 5 selections for the commanders of this set?
Yes. Do you have an honorable mention that you want to mention?
I do not.
Okay. I kind of structured my list. I think that the reason... I think that after I structured my list, I'm going to put Wan Shi Tong as my honorable mention. It just missed the cut for me.
Really?
Yes. It just missed the cut. After I looked at these other cards. Just missed the cut.
Interesting.
I think it is a fantastic 99 card, and I think it can still be a cEDH commander. But I think with the way the meta is right now, it's just a little slow.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just my opinion.
Okay. So is that the only honorable mention that you have, or do you have others?
Well, I do. Okay. I have one other honorable mention just because I think the card's cool. It's mono white. It's terrible. You would not run this, but it's called like Jet Rebel Leader.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that, or I think it's, Jet Rebel Leader. Whenever it ETBs, you basically look here. I'll pull the card up so that way, again, I'm not just like reading some bullshit. Jet Rebel Leader. When Jet attacks, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's like budget Winota. But I don't think that this is going to end up being like anything good. But I think that you know how it is. People will try to play mono white, and they'll play mono white stacks. And there will be some guy out there that's like, well, I'm going to flip into my stacks piece every time I attack, and y'all are just gonna get fucked up. So I do think that we'll probably see like this pop up somewhere, and it's a human.
Fair enough.
Counter on human.
Well, since you had an honorable mention and you mentioned Wan Shi Tong there, would you like to just go on ahead and say what your number 5 is?
Yeah. Again, let me get that pulled up for you so that I'm reading the card to the T. My number 5 is Firelord Ozai.
Okay.
Do you know what this does?
Tell me about it.
It's 3 and a black, legendary creature, human noble. When Firelord Ozai attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, add an amount of red equal to that sacrificed creature's power. Until end of combat, you don't lose this mana as steps end. I don't really think that shit matters. It has another piece of text at the bottom that says, pay 6 generic. Doesn't have to actually be colors, just 6 generic. Exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards without paying its mana cost. I think this is actually kind of sick because I've seen people play lists like this, and we were actually playing with like Go to Combat. It was like me, him, Kellen, and Forbes, and we were playing a game. And if he had got back to his turn, he was going to win with this like deck. Like I was actually like very surprised. But yeah, this deck can. If you have ways to generate mana, you can basically just exile everybody's deck, and then they're just fucked. They draw into an empty library. But also, you get to play those cards without paying the mana cost.
Right.
So there's ways to do that. And then also, you're in Rakdos, and Rakdos is always finding like goofy-ass shenanigans and ways to like do weird stuff. And I don't think that the top text is really relevant, but it may honestly be relevant at some point. Just like make a shit ton of mana by sacking a big old creature.
Yeah.
And then, sacrifice the walls of Bossing, say, make 0. And then, stuff like that,
Okay.
But no, I just think that I definitely think that this could actually be something that's got some legs. Because, again, I've seen it almost put up wins against other, like, decent cEDH decks. So I definitely think that there will be somebody that's just a Rakdos fan out there that's going to put this list together and brew the shit out of it. Because for some reason, Rakdos gets a lot of love like that. Like, fuck, who was it that we played with when we played with Matt? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Briar. Same thing. Has a mat that says Rakdos.
Yeah.
Plays a shit ton of Rakdos stuff. So, again, Briar is a great example. Like, they are probably going to do some brews with the Rakdos stuff. So I just think that somebody's going to pick this deck up because they love Avatar and they love Rakdos. And then next thing you know, you're going to see Firelord Ozai top 16ing some shit. So that's my opinion.
Cool. Same.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I put Firelord Ozai as my number 5 here. And I like that you brought up some of those points because I felt like that's what I was about to say. Like, especially with that last one, I feel like when Rakdos gets something new, the Rakdos community like jumps on it a little bit right away and is just like, how can we break this? Yeah. Right. And then I definitely think the bottom part of the text is the most relevant part. And you're in colors where, like, yeah, you're not doing like a power artifact grim monolith type thing, or you don't have Kennen or anything like that. So you got to find like really interesting ways to like truly get into the whole infinite mana. But I mean, you could do the Basalt, Rings of Bright Heart. You have access to, like, if you wanted to, like the World Gorger loops to make infinite mana that way too. Like, you can play out your graveyard. You have black, so you have access to the best tutors in the format. Like, the bottom ability paying into it, and almost reminds me of Atali in a way. Obviously, like, you get to only play one of those cards, but the fact that it is a sink in the command zone, but you can also just play like a really good 99, and you can go into like dual caster lines, Underworld Breach type stuff, World Gorger if you wanted to. Just throw in like Peer into the Abyss and like draw out your deck and just assemble some pieces from there. Like, yeah, the Rakdos doesn't necessarily have like the more protected wins because you're out of white and you're out of blue, but it from time to time proves that it can just go really, really fast. And so if that's what it's trying to do with a lot more consistency with, again, the tutors, I mentioned the dual caster line there, but you can also just go into like the Hoarding Broodlord, Broodlord stuff. So that way you can, again, have more consistency with things. If you had to, for some reason, Broodlord and then get the saw in half, make 2 more Broodlords, and they move to combat and somehow do something at instant speed by sacking some creatures, making more mana, and then just going off. I bet you potentially could. But I don't know. Plot, like, Omnixus, like, it's good, but it's not really great in the format right now. And Firelord Ozai, even though it doesn't necessarily have that like immediate impact like how Omnixus can, it is at least a little bit easier to cast. It doesn't have that red pip in the actual like casting cost. So it does make it easier to cast like on like turn 1 or turn 2, and then you can either start beating face with a 4/4 or just start assembling it, whatever else you need to at that point. So,
well, dude, there, like when we were playing the game with Kellen, he literally was helping go to combat, like just work on the list and like come up with some crazy lines, and he was coming up with some crazy shit, dude. It was like, what did he say? It was he did like a weird Hazel's line where you can basically have a Kiki Jiki, and you tap if you can eat a Kiki Jiki with Hazels, you can continue to tap the foods down, and so the Hazels will come down. Now you're essentially making the Hazels. They're coming in, so you're making more and more and more and more and more foods. So now you have all these foods, and you technically have like a bunch of Hazels. But then also after that, he was eating with the last Hazel ETB. He was eating a blood pit, and then he just sacks all the foods. and then face it into the Fire Lord Ozai. Kellen was coming up with some crazy
That's
shit.
fucking big brain.
Yeah.
I like that shit.
I was like,
holy fuck.
what is happening right now? And so, yeah, he's just like, exile everybody's shit. And then, ta-da. And I was like, Kellen, how the fuck did you see that?
And if they don't win that way, they just like swing out with the hazels.
With the hazels, yeah.
That's busted.
Yeah, it was all
that's
sorts
cool.
of silly stuff. So I thought it was funny. But
that's neato. So anyway, what's your number 4?
my number 4, I put Katara Waterbending Master.
Okay.
This is 1 in a blue, legendary creature, human warrior ally. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you get an experience counter. Whenever Katara attacks, you may draw a card for each experience counter you have. If you do, discard a card. I think this is like really solid. Trevor has put a list together with this. I think the problem, I love Trevor to death. I think the problem is that people get so antsy and they want to be taking game actions. And I don't know if you know me, but I sandbag like a motherfucker.
I know.
I don't take game actions. I talk, but I don't take no.
I know. I think what I'm about to do is anytime we have gameplay now, instead of putting your picture up there, I'm just gonna put like a sandbag
That's right.
for you
That's right. With my name on it.
with your name on it.
It says like one of the hello, I'm Chadwick. No. but no,
Number 1 dad.
Yeah. No. I do think that, like, if you can be somebody that's, like, super patient, can play control, Mono Blue has a lot of, like, really good interactive pieces to begin with. And they're not necessarily, like, the best counter spells, but you get access to other good counters when you're playing Mono Blue because you can rely on some of the stuff that's, like, Bounce an Island and, like, other spells like that. And some of the stuff you don't even really need to, like, you don't even actually have to be using counter spells. Like, a lot of people could just use like Brainstorm, and like you could almost play this like Mono Blue Terror. Like, I don't know if people play Popper, but like Mono Blue Terror is kind of that way. You're just casting a ton of shit on your opponent's turn. You hold up a ton of interaction. If you need the interaction, you stop what they do. If you don't need the interaction, you just play again like Brainstorm and like some of these other things, and then just draw some cards, get to your turn, and you're just trying to fill your graveyard with like a shit ton of instants and sorcery so that you can cast the Terror of the Peaks for like basically cheap. I kind of think of this list as the same way. You don't take game actions on your turn. You just kind of hang out, hang tight, counter stuff if you need to counter it. Try to help make other people obviously counter stuff as well. And then if for some reason you don't need to, it's on the end step, getting back to your turn, fire off your little like 1 pip spells, kind of cantrip your way through your deck a little bit, get into your turn, go to combat and swing, draw a shit ton of cards, sculpt a hand, pass. Do it again, do it again, do it again, until eventually you find like the win con for the deck.
Yeah.
And then you're good. And I actually think that this is like pretty solid because not only that, your counter spells can be used to stop wins, and they can also be used to protect your actual like piece. And this comes down super early. Like, it's 1 in a blue and it's a 1/3. This thing blocks the fuck out of Tymna.
Yeah.
So fuck Tymna. Doesn't just immediately die to a Bowmaster, which is awesome. And then on top of that, you get it down early, so it's already online, and you're off to the races. If this thing was like 4 or 5 mana, obviously trash. Like, sorry, but 2 mana, and it's not even blue. It's 1 in a blue. I think you can swing that. Yeah. And then after that, you're off to the races. And like I said, you either find this very early, or if you can't, just find an early Rhystic Study.
Right.
Or find this early, and then next turn, Rhystic Study. You're cooking at that point, dude. And then, yeah. So I think that this deck could actually be like pretty solid. Yeah. It is crutched by the fact that like Mono Blue doesn't have a lot of great win conditions outside of some of the other Mono Blue decks, like making like the infinite mana or doing stuff like with like Urza and like some of these other decks. But I feel like that this has the potential to control the game long enough to get to that stage where you finally find your win. So I think it's really good.
Yeah. Well, my number 4, I think it's interesting that we both put Mono Blue commanders in our number 4 spot, but I made the comment earlier, I'm probably going to end up talking about this card again. So my number 4 is actually Wan Shi Tong, Librarian. I think that this card is really good in the 99. I do think that it can see play as just a Mono Blue commander. I know that on Keeping Tabs recently, like Logan talked about playing this at his locals and was just cooking people with it, and almost playing like this, like I don't remember exactly what he said, but almost like this Staxy-ish kind of build with it, where you are kind of doing a lot of like parasitic type stuff with Wan Shi Tong, because it could just sit there, and anytime someone tutors, you draw a card and it gets bigger, and then you're slowing down the table with all these stacks pieces while you just continue to kind of accrue value. Like it almost doesn't really matter at that point, because like I think the biggest thing is like you slow people down in the mono blue, and then you have access to all the counter magic that you want to. And I know that that's one of your favorite things outside of Silence Effects and Angel's Grace. But the fact that it's like Archivist in a way, but better, where it kind of attacks one of the biggest things I feel like in our format that makes decks consistent, and that is tutors. Like, there's a reason why everyone runs them. There's a reason why everyone pretty much runs fetches, like even in monocolored decks, because you're either trying to go faster, filter out the deck, go directly to whatever win conditions you need or whatever you need in that given moment. Like, this is a little bit more than just like a gotcha card. It's going to impact the table as soon as it comes down. Even if, like, say you're in seat one, like if you're in seat one and you have nothing else you could play, but you can cast this on one, and then you don't, you just pass, and then someone goes to fetch, you flash this in response, you're up a card, and it becomes a 2/2, and you're able to like cast it on turn one in response to someone cracking a fetch. I would almost bet what's going to if even end up happening after they crack that fetch, they're probably going to try to tutor again, right? They'll either put rocks down or try to do at some point do a vamp tutor or demonic whatever. And if that happens, you have a pretty good chance of, like, by the time it gets back to your turn, you've probably drawn at least 2 or 3 cards and put on 2 or 3 counters on Wan Shi Tong. And then at that point, not only are you drawing cards, you can actually start pressuring more of the life totals of the opponents that are going to go into Necro and Admiral's plans, because it has flying and it has vigilance. So you don't have to tap it, and you just keep it there as a blocker, and then you just pressure, and accrue more value off of it, draw into your counter package, slow down the game. It's really fucking good.
This card is like fantastic, dude. It's seriously like, just thinking about all of those things that you said. I think that when you compare it to something like an Archivist, sure, Archivist is like a smidge like easier to cast. Just it's a little bit easier to cast. Like, I'm not gonna discount that, but the fact that this turns into a like. The reason I feel like a lot of people don't run the stacks piece is, like, I'm just going to use Aven Mind Sensor as like a good example. Obviously, like, Bowmaster is a huge reason why people don't run Aven, but it doesn't give you anything. You stop the search, but you don't get anything in return.
Right.
It's the same idea of, like, I use a piece to stop my opponent.
Yeah.
You're going down a card to stop the opponent, and then now the answer is just setting on the board for the next person who wants to go for it. They just have to get rid of that thing, and then they can go for it. Ooh. And it can give you a lot of like false sense of security.
Yeah.
I feel like with this card in particular, it is fantastic because people aren't looking at it as a problem. It doesn't stop the search. You just both get to get resources. Like, your opponent basically is going to tutor, so they're going to net neutral.
Yeah, but think about that. I'm going to pause you just for a second.
Go for it.
Because of a comment you made about with Aven Mind Sensor and Aven Interrupter and even like Oppo and things like that, you're going down a card. This isn't the command zone. You're not going down a card.
Well,
and you're getting a card.
To be fair, you technically, when you're casting this, but you're technically going down a card. People look at it as like an extra card in your hand, even though it's not there. You are technically going net neutral, technically.
I view this as you're not going down a card because you're not drawing it out of the deck.
Well, I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. You're technically, I'm just looking at it from like what a 60 card player's like mindset would be. Because to them, even though the command zone is like a separate zone, it is technically a card in your hand that you can cast once you have the mana for it.
Yeah.
You're technically going down the card to cast it, but then immediately drawing the card. So you're going neutral. Right. So that already is fantastic. That is better than something like an Aven, like I said, where you go down. I'm using Aven Mind Sensor, but like it's the same reason why I think
they're both birds.
Yeah. Yeah, Aven Monsters are busted. 2026. But if Bowmaster gets banned, Aven Monsters 2026 all day. I'll campaign the fuck out of that. But got Flash. But I think that again, you are getting a resource out of it. I think that if you look right now, the reason that I think that a lot of people, when they're picking cards to play in decks, they want something that is going to net them resources. Like the reason Opposition Agent still sees play over something like Aven. Aven stops the opponent from doing something. The Opposition Agent just basically says, "Hey, I'm going to get that thing that they got." So again, you go neutral. You spin the card out of your hand, but then now it's giving you a card back, and your opponent goes down a resource, and it still is a stacks piece. It locks them out of the tutor. This is fantastic because they're not worried about removing this piece a lot of the time. They're just whatever. They're going to keep tutoring, and then you're going up cards, and it's getting big, which can potentially keep the big problematic deck, the Tim McCrom type decks. Oh, yeah. But no, I think that that's why like something like this we'll see a lot of play because it's not a like stacks piece that's just like it has to be answered right then. It's just value that just kind of chills there. A lot of times people just completely forget about it. Right. And then
I like how this is my number 4, and then he just went into like the very long like explanation of it. It does make me wonder, now that you remembered it has Flash, do you wish you would have actually put it back on the list? No?
I think this is a fantastic 99 card.
Okay.
I think that as a commander itself, it still could be a really good commander. We probably will see some people playing it.
I think we will see a lot of people play it, especially since these past few weeks we have seen a lot of like mono blue strategies that are popping up again in the format. I think that this will be one that we will probably see people trying to take to events. Maybe not this weekend, but definitely within the next few weeks. I bet there will be people that try to take this to Frenzy at the Falls and things like that. I would almost say we see this there.
Yeah, I definitely think that we could see something like that happen.
Yeah. Might not be top 16, but I'm going to call the prediction now. At least one player is going to play this at that event.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely agree with you. I think that the card is fantastic in the 99. Yeah. And it's also, it doesn't have to be cast immediately. I love stuff like that to where I can just wait. We're kind of getting more and more and more into that flash meta. The longer that you can wait to push, you got it.
Well, I kind of feel like, though, the thing with this card in particular is that this isn't something you want to flash in response to things during the mid to late game or whenever the stack is like really big, because that's whenever you're not going to make the most use of it. So like you can go a little bit faster in actually going into the commander centric plan with this deck, I feel like, and then just try to like utilize it in like as it's triggering off of everyone else's tutoring and draw into the pieces you actually need to slow down the game or win those fights. Because it's like you said, even with the Katara, like mono blue doesn't necessarily have like the best win cons ever, but it still can get there. Like it is the infinite mana sink. You can do Hullbreaker Horde lines with it, so you can literally just like bounce it back and then like use all that mana to just draw out your library that way. You know, if you're doing that, you're probably going into like a Lab Manthos's type stuff still within this.
It's confirmed this is a polymorph card. Polymorph deck.
No, we're not doing the polymorph.
Polymorph deck.
There's better things to do.
Polymorph deck.
Stop it.
It's a polymorph deck.
Stop it. But anyway, that's all I have to say on this one. That's my number 4. I think it's going to see play though. So number 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, I wasn't talking about it too with the outlet part. I was
number 3.
As a 99 card, not as the commander.
Number 3.
My number 3. I need to type into the search engine. I found it. Yeah, my number 3. I have Toph the First Metal Bender.
Okay.
Yeah. It is 1 and Naya. So for people that don't know what that means, red, green, and white. It is a legendary creature, human warrior ally. Non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. At the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2. Yeah, I think that this is really good because there are plenty of artifacts that untap lands, and then all of a sudden you make them into lands. It is a lot easier to make infinite mana.
Well, there's one artifact in particular.
Yeah, we were talking about the candelabra.
Yeah, candelabra.
What was it? The oh shit. The distraction makers would always say. They would say non-game changer Candelabra of Thanos. But yeah, and also my good friend our good friend at That's a Good Card, sent me a list like as soon as this was spoiled, and it was basically just the title was like, I think it said like I am Melon Lord, which is like a quote from Todd from the show. But he literally sends me the list and he's like, I need your help with this. And immediately I just look at the list and I go, I don't know what the fuck this is doing. Like, what do you want this is not me. This is not my expertise. Send it to Chase.
I think he sent it to me.
Yeah.
Because I know whenever that card got spoiled, I was looking at it and I went, fuck, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think Toph is a very strong card with some very unique abilities. Plus like the whole Earthbend 2 aspect of things, where like then if your artifacts, I'm assuming this is how it works. If your artifacts check as lands, and like say you have like a lotus petal or some shit like that, and then you have to use it after, like if you've earthbended it, I think it could come back, right? Your artifacts can start coming back whenever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anytime like one gets removed or something, like if you've earthbended it or anything like that, you should be able to just bring it back.
Fuck, that's good.
Yeah. Well, and plus like the earthbend ability, like if you think of fetches too, like you earthbend a fetch, then you crack it, and then you go and get whatever land you actually need, and then you set up like your fetch comes back tapped. Obviously, like you can't use it again right then and there, but at least you have a way on your next turn, either hitting your land drop or continuing to filter out your lands too. I think the earthbend ability in particular is just strong, but I think Toph is just really good.
Yeah, I think that this card's actually going to be really good. Like I said, if you can essentially just find ways to like generate infinite mana. There's so many artifacts in the game that just allow you to like pump colorless mana and other things into like either drawing, like just draw a card like the staffs and like just draw through the deck. Obviously you've got like Walking Ballista and some of these other like really good cards. And then on top of that, I mean, Naya is like prime colors for like stacks and other stuff. And then also you get to run like some of the cooler cards, like I think this card's cool. I think this card is really cool. A lot of people may disagree. I think that you would want to build like, if you could build it around a strategy with stuff like Jetmir and other cards like that do like the whole buff shenanigans and just like beat face, even if you're just like stacking the board down and like just doing it like lands. I think that this reminds me a lot of that list that we were talking about, like the Brutal Force stacks, the Kamal Bruce, but with other options as well.
Right.
So I think that this could be really fucking solid.
Yeah.
And this is like an actual, like, this is a sick deck where you could literally like potentially kill somebody with a Guy's Cradle Swing.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking dope. So yeah, I just think that it's really cool. And I like the card. So I think that I definitely think people are going to pick it up. I think the only problem you're probably going to run into is that you are in colors that are going to probably struggle to stop the early wins to get you into that later stage of the game. Toph is not a card that's probably coming down like turn 1, turn 2. You're going to need to set up a little bit and kind of get going and then start pushing into that later stage of the game. So you're really going to be reliant on either trying to keep interactive hands, which is tough in these colors, or having opponents that are responsible to like stop the early pushes. Then once this gets into the late stage, fantastic. Right. So if the meta continues to speed up, I think this deck is going to really struggle. If we can see the meta kind of slow down, I think that this deck will be very good. That's my number 3.
That's your number 3. Well, for my number 3, we at least share 2 of the same colors. So I actually put Aang at the Crossroads as my number 3 pick. So for 2 colorless, a green, a white, and a blue, we are in Bant colors. We have this 3/3 human avatar ally with flying. And whenever Aang enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When another creature you control leaves the battlefield, transform Aang at the beginning of the next end step, and then you can transform him, and he becomes Aang Destined Savior. That it's actually colorless, but that still has flying. Land creatures you control have vigilance at the beginning of combat on your turn. Earthbend 2. So whenever I saw this card, I thought it was really kind of interesting what it could do, because you kind of have, in a way, like, even though the mana value of it itself, it's like a little less than Traxa, and you're missing out on the black. You could potentially have this like really like interesting food chain commander within Bant colors that, even though like it's kind of like turns into like a 4 CMC matters kind of deck, you still have access to Voice of Victory, Ranger Captain, Grand Abolisher, that off an ETB you could just flip it out of that top 5 pile and put them in. Like, it's kind of like it's like this food chain-esque commander that takes like some Kennen strategy type stuff, but it's not restricted to the card type like how Kennen is. So you get access to all your silence effects, all your protective stuff. Things like, if you had to include like things like Displacer Kitten, to where you can generate more mana after doing food chain by like casting a spell and flickering some of your rocks or anything like that, you could. You have access to like Derevia Mill line, because that all fits within the 4 CMC. So it's kind of like this really interesting commander that like you can kind of go into food chain strategies that takes aspects of Kennen. While I don't know if you know the card Collected Company. It was an instant speed where I think you pay 4 into it, and you look at the top 6 cards, and you could put 2 creatures onto the battlefield that are CMC 4 or less. So it takes those kind of things and puts it all into this commander. We just saw Ian like top an event with Dog Thrust, right? We've seen that deck kind of popping up from time to time throughout the year. So I still love Derevi. Like, I still think Derevi is a good deck. I think Bant colors are still pretty strong. So I think that there's a way of building this where you can actually just like have all your creatures CMC 4 or less. You can do creature combo strategies throughout that, whether that be like the Derevia Mill stuff. You might even be able to do like some Ewit Spellseeker, like Fairy Mastermind stuff, if you have a way of like somehow, after you've gotten everything out, being able to now convert that into regular mana, so that way now you have all these outlets like a Fairy Mastermind or something that you could just pump into, which is why I think Derevia Mill fitting into the 99 of this, and you being able to rip those off of a flip here, is actually pretty good.
Well, you can still excuse me, you can still do like some of the cool, like, I guess like Cradle Farm type esque strategies too with that, because like all of the pieces that you need for the Cradle Farm stuff are within that 4 or less. So if you can just find ways to like get those pieces out onto the board and like start going that way too, like you've got a lot of options.
And with that being said, Displacer Kitten's actually really, really strong in this, because like if you start doing that, then you flicker Aang like either through Displacer Kitten or Emil, and get another ETB. Let's put more pieces onto the battlefield, like things like that. So
you just start flipping into your clones, and somebody's got an Atali on board, and then you just keep flipping into you hit a Displacer Kitten, and then you're like, I'm gonna do the Atali thing, but better than you.
Yeah. So I do think that the high CMC of it is kind of the drawback to it, but we're seeing like people try to jam like Turbo Atraxa and shit like that right now, and so I do think it's just a really cool card. I don't know if it'll actually see play, but that is my number 3 pick, because I think that there's a lot of ways of breaking this card. You just got to kind of figure it out, and I think that this is the one that Alan was talking about, that his friend was trying to find a way to just like break the deck, but didn't want to give any spoilers on that one. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Nice. That's my number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aang at the Crossroads, for all of the reasons that we just said. I do think that I actually think that this card could be like really good. I think everybody just enjoys food chain. First, like people just like doing food chain stuff, and I also think that Bant has shown that it's like really good. The colors are very good. Yeah. People want to be playing these colors, and people love food chain.
Well, speaking of food chain, like the two pieces I notably forgot to mention there, and I'm glad that it's your number 2, is you can run Eternal Scourge and Mist Hollow Griffin, because Mist Hollow is a 4-drop. Eternal Scourge is a 3-drop. So you have access to 2 pieces you can actually start doing the food chain stuff with in order to infinitely cast your commander and draw and get everything out. And it probably will ultimately end up as like either the Fairy Mastermind thing, or you find a way of like doing Finale. And that's what I'm saying. Like there might be like Spellseeker lines in order to like somehow, you know, start trying to like get a Crop Rot and then put a Cradle out and then make a bunch of mana and then, you know, start going off from there, because then you have your Derevian Emil out at that point, and then you just go down and like find a way to just draw probably like just Thrasios and 99 then, and then being able to like get down to the finale and you just swing out that way too. So
I think that that's the problem with a lot of decks and like strategies like this, is that ultimately I think that when you look at, and not to derail this either, but like with cEDH, a lot of times like the win itself, like the way you got there is the fun part. Like people are trying to figure out like, you know, different ways to get to the win. A lot of the wins are they're done similar or like the exact same way. They're very similar. Yeah. So I think that that's one of the only things that this deck is going to struggle from, is like, well, why play this when you could play this other strategy that's doing the same thing? Like this is just Bant Rocco essentially, like to an extent.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like Rocco, very good, and then so Aang is probably going to be very good. Also, you get access to blue instead of red, which red's very good, but you know, like that's kind of just how I looked at the deck. Yeah. So I was like, if people want to play Rocco, but they don't necessarily want to play those colors, they can just play this. Right. And I still think it's very good. So again, I think that's what a lot of people are doing. It's like, what is the conclusion? Like, how do you get to the end? I mean, there's still ways to go about it. I think that this deck can be very good. So that was what I had at number 2. And also, you can flip into a Wan Shi Tong. So
nice. So
what's your number 2?
My number 2, I actually put Toph, the first metal bender, here at number 2. Whenever I saw this card, I was like, this is going to get broken right away. People instantly hopped on it. You already talked about the Candelabra stuff. I do think that we are in Naya colors, which has really struggled, I feel like, in our format. I just love Naya. If I had opportunities to play it a little bit more, I probably would. Rocco is our best example of Naya that we have. And if we kind of look at Rocco, like, yes, it's doing like the tutoring out, and it's doing like Felidar Kiki-Jiki lines and things like that. I don't think Toph really wants to go that direction with things and trying to stretch that far with it. I think that if we look at a deck that is kind of similar to it, it's a little like Rocco takes advantage of the stacks pieces. Blood Pod takes advantage of stacks pieces. I think that Toph kind of wants to do that thing, and I think that that might be the thing that kind of makes people gravitate towards this commander in particular, because of where we are at in the format right now, where it's just like everyone is just jamming and not giving a single fuck about like what is on board or what people have in hand. They're just going to try to win. But I think that's where people, it's like what the comment that was made like within the past couple of weeks of like people like can very quickly see the direction of the format and where it's going, and then like try to find a way to overcorrect. And I think you are going to see a little bit more of the stacks strategies starting to pop up, especially since a couple of weeks ago with the Fishbowl, there were quite a few stacks decks that were popping up, right? At these bigger events. Naya has been a really good color pile for stacks in the past, outside of having blue. And something that I think is notable with that is I think that if you have a way of like something like a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, technically speaking, you can run Urborg. But like any of those effects that give all your lands the abilities of like they can produce green, your artifacts don't have that as is on this. But I think putting those lands into the deck or putting something like, I'm not gonna say you run like a chromatic lantern. Don't do that. Don't do that in cEDH, please. But like any kind of effect that gives your lands those abilities, I think that it would actually give your artifacts that ability, and then you could start turning your artifact stacks pieces into asymmetrical pieces. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Urza does whenever like the Urza stacks build where before going into the Urza's turn, they tap down all their winter orb and shit like that, and then make it to where um now they could just untap and do whatever they need to. I think Toph has the ability to do that as well if you kind of go that direction. And another outlet that I don't think you had talked about that you can actually do, you mentioned Walking Ballista. You can actually start incorporating effects like Codex Shredder in this, where as you're untapping stuff, you can mill out the table. And that I think that's unique and interesting, and actually like an Urza strategy from the past, right? You just mill out the table with Codex Shredder. You can do that within Toph. Um, so yeah, I think if we see a build of this, it's going to be like a Staxy-ish version of it. But because we have access to red and green, it's actually easier to try to jam those pieces on board way faster too. So I don't know. I definitely think it's an interesting commander. I don't again, it's one that I'm just like, I don't know how much play I'll actually see, but there's a lot of people that have been talking about this, and I think it's probably one of the best in the set.
I think the only problem, this sucks too, because like I think one of the only problems that this deck is going to run into as a stacks commander is the fact that a lot of the stacks pieces hit the things that this wants to be doing. Like if you look at the null rod type of effects, if you look at the
Like collector
roof,
yeah.
like
well, I don't think that would.
But even if you
Yeah.
don't do that, then you play. Let's say you play the other, like okay, you can only cast one spell a turn type of effects. I think that the decks that are doing really good right now with stacks are the ones that can break parity on that, like things like Time, where you're not casting spells, you're just activating a lot of abilities. With
Right.
this, you need to be able to like you don't really want to play the can only draw one card a turn type of effects because you're eventually going to want to find that outlet that's going to let you draw your deck out.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think that if you're able to put effects into the deck that can convert your the artifact stack pieces into tappable lands, then that is how you actually break the parity on that.
absolutely.
Is just like you slow everyone else down, and then going into your turn, you just make mana, and then boom, like you create the dissonance between you and your opponent that way.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's going to want to run like null rod or anything like that because it's going to be super artifact heavy, or probably not oof. But I feel like if you start running pieces like that, that's whenever you try to start going into the territory of like Eldritch Evolutions and pod effects and having ways to get those pieces off board. I don't think that this deck is going to have the full way of removing those pieces at all times because of what it's trying to do. But I do think being able to convert your artifacts into the lands and then having a way to actually tap them down either for mana or being able to create that asymmetrical effect is going to be what this goes for. This deck's going to make a fuck ton of mana if it's going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, too. So I don't know. I do think it's really it's an interesting commander.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking forward to see someone top an event with it.
Mm-hmm. I still think it's very good.
They're gonna top an event with it.
The pun.
Yeah. All right. What's your number one?
This might be a little controversial. I don't know if people are even paying attention to this card, but I'm gonna preface this with I think that people love cards that seem like budget Underworld Breach. Just saying. So
Okay.
my number one, I put Iroh Grand Lotus.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those that don't know what it is 3 and then Teamer. So green, blue, red. And it is legendary creature, human, noble, ally, firebending 2. During your turn, each non-lesson instance and sorcery in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost. During your turn, each lessened card in your graveyard has flashback, just one generic. And then it's a 5/5. It's a lot of mana, and it is going to be tough to cast. But I honestly think that people just love decks and cards that seem like Breach in the zone. The moment that we saw the Norman Osborn stuff pop up, everybody was like, oh, I'm playing that. I've even seen a couple people talking about this card. I literally think that people are going to pick this up and they're going to be like, yes, like I'm going to get to do the flashback shenanigans. And I'm not going to lie. I think Teamer is constantly looking for like a face because like certain strategies
it already has a face.
Flubs. But certain strategies just have a hard time finding, I guess, the win. And like for this color in particular, obviously like Rogthras is like kind of like the staple, like, oh, that's what I'm playing if I'm playing these colors.
And semi-blue.
Yeah, that deck sucks. But
it's not a real deck.
No. But yeah, I honestly think that somebody's going to try and pick this up and just like fuck around with it for a bit because, again, it just seems like Underworld Breach. I think that this is going to be like one of those, again, like a Norman Osborn situation where could be totally wrong. But I think people will try to play this. They'll do some stuff with it. It may have a little bit of success depending on where the meta goes. If the meta continues to speed up, you're fucked. This is 6 mana. Very unlikely. But if Atraxa can win games, I think that this can win games. Yeah. So I think that this could actually be a pretty decent deck. What is your number one?
I'm actually really surprised you didn't go with this for number one. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because you like 4-drop commanders that have attack.
Are you talking about Firelord Azula?
Yeah. So my number one is Firelord Azula. So for a colorless blue, black, and a red, we have a human noble that's a 4/4 legendary with Firebending 2. And we went over the Earthbending a little bit. We haven't gone over any of the other ones. But Firebending 2, when this creature attacks, add 2 red. This mana lasts until end of combat. But the main part of the text is whenever you cast a spell while Firelord Azula is attacking, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I'll be honest, even though I put this as my number one, I was not really sold on this card at first. But I'm just kind of trying to think more on where we are at in the format. Mm-hmm. Grixis is still really strong. Mm-hmm. Grixis is trying to go really fast. You can do Grixis strategies without casting the commander, right? You get the commander on board for this. It's just kind of like a bonus, right? I think that this is going to be like a Grixis commander that somewhat fits within that whole like Kefka, Norman Osborn kind of thing, where it's more of the mid-rangey strategy, but the fact that you can attack and where everyone is like trying to really present a win on top of wins, and the fact that it's not limited to instances and sorceries. If you have a way of just like being able to attack and then send it, and like through Born Upon the Wind, or you crack an emergent zone, Valley Flood Caller, whatever it might be, like someone goes to stop you, then it's like, oh, I'm going to flash in this Valley Flood Caller like during combat. I'm going to drop this Lotus Petal. I'm going to make a copy of the Lotus Petal as well. So I get 2 Lotus Petals. I'm going to drop this other. I'm going to drop maybe LED. Oh, now I have 2 LEDs. I'm going to now crack both Lotus Petal. I'm going to cast an Underworld Breach here. I get 2 Underworld Breaches. Like, yes, it can be stopped, but you got to have, like, basically the only ways that you can truly get around that is, like, Mind Break traps at that point, because how often is people going to have, like, all that interaction in order to not just prevent the original, but being able to stop the copy of it. And we've said it over the past couple of weeks, like, people just aren't running enough spot removal or ways of dealing with creatures on the stack. And so having this ability stapled on a creature where it doubles all your stuff whenever you cast it, I think makes it very strong. So yeah, it's that combination of it's in Grixis colors. and which gives you access to the best strategies that we currently have in the format that everyone is trying to do. It is a deck that can potentially go fast because you are in Grixis, but gives you a little bit more of the mid-range plan, and technically gives you a little bit more protection because if you are if you get into that counter war where you're doing stuff, like you literally make extra copies of all your counter spells too. So it gives you added protection in that. And I think it's going to be very resilient. I just don't think it's going to be as fast as Rogsai. I don't think any other Grixis deck is truly going to be as fast as Rogsai. But yeah, I think it is actually really strong. I don't know if it's truly going to be the best commander out of this, but I think that people will gravitate towards this quite a bit.
I think me and you picked our number ones based solely off of like popularity rather than like how we think they're going to convert. Because looking at both of these, I think they fucking suck. I'll be so honest. But I literally think that people will play them because, again, like I told you, it's like this is Budget Breach, and then yours is like it's Grixis, try to go fast, and it's Azula, and people will be like, oh. But in reality, I think that probably half of the cards that we talked about today are better than what we put at the number one. I literally think, and I'm saying this again, like strictly from... I think popularity due to experimentation.
Yeah.
And I've been very wrong before on these.
I think Azula, I think if anyone plays it, it's going to be Ian.
I think that card sucks.
Azula?
Yeah, I think it sucks.
I think that it has some potential here.
I understand. I think Grixis
is really good.
I think Kefka beats the shit out of this card.
Probably.
I just think my problem is like it feels I mean, obviously, I know we're kind of at the wrap-up stage. I think that card feels win more. I think Iroh, because of the mana cost, is hot dog shit. But again, I really do. I know, and I know that sounds crazy because they're like, "Why'd you put it at 1?" I literally think that people just like experimenting with things that say, "Oh, breach." Like, for some reason, people just because again, like people are looking for that diversity of win cons. But I think that Toph is probably better than this. I think that Aang is better than this.
I will say this, and just kind of hear me out for a second. You said Kefka beats the shit out of this. One thing I do like about Azula over Kefka, Busy, forgive me. I think that with Kefka, there's a lot of pilots on the deck right now that still, like, if you go through comments... or anytime like Kefka's been brought up in our Discord or commented on the channel or anything like that, like people are still trying to find that balance in the deck. Where if you start going into more of the Kefka heavy, like Flicker and things like that, where you have to split the difference at times in that, if that's how you're building the deck, I feel like Azula takes that out. Where you can literally build the Grixis good stuff with this, and then you play it like how you would play Zur potentially, but within Grixis, where you cast her and like you set on your value type stuff, get into the mid range if you have to, cast her, and the next turn you're swinging and you're popping off in your combat stuff. You know, if we don't have anything else on
I think our
commanders,
list,
I think we're good.
Yeah,
but that brings up a point that if you enjoy our tournament breakdowns and like listen us to ramble and talk shit and kind of fuck up on some of these decks at times, tune in on Wednesday as we are going to cover more events. Hopefully, I don't know what is happening this past weekend at the current time of the recording, but we'll figure it out when we record for that episode. So,
our list fucking sucks,
huh?
Our list for today sucks.
I actually kind of like our list. I'm kind of excited. I think my top 3 are going to get played.
I agree. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we had a very similar list. The only thing was our mono blue commanders were different and our number ones were very different.
Yeah. And our second and third were
just flips.
So. But anyway, I don't have anything else on this. Let us know what you think on doing this style of trying to talk about a few cards and break down our thoughts on these top 5 commanders as opposed to doing a full-on set review like we have before. Because we both kind of agree, like, this is one of those things that maybe a lot of people do at times, but we want to find different ways of approaching this rather than just, let's talk about each card in the format, basically. But anyway, let us know what your all's thoughts down in the comments below on not just our commanders, but what you all think are going to be the top commanders of the Avatar: The Last Airbender set. Again, if there's any cards maybe we didn't even talk about for just the regular stuff, drop it down there below too, of like maybe there's some other cards you're excited about or some new strategies that you're looking into. I know we didn't get into like, you know, all the other bending and things like that. Especially since, surprise, I didn't put a 5-color commander on this list, and there's 2 of them. There's at least 2 of them in the set with Aang and the bear, the Shrine Bear. So not even worth mentioning. But, you know, let us know what you all are hoping out of this set, and just where your thoughts are on the format as we are getting closer to rounding out the year. So, you got anything else for us?
I think my number 1 should have been the Walls of Ba Sing Se.
Oh, fuck
It
you.
is a legend, but go ahead.
It is, but fuck you. No, do not do that.
That's my number 1. No, go ahead.
So, but yeah, as always, like, subscribe, and
Go play some cEDH.